All right, so hello and welcome to Lexington Education Foundation's grantee reception. My name is Nicole and I am here with my co-president, Carolyn Copey-Peacock, and pretty soon Karen Zhao will be joining us. She's our VP of School Partnerships. So, we are here today to recognize all of you and to celebrate your recently awarded grants. We are so excited to hear about the grants that you've received and the impact that they've had in your classroom and with our students. We have so many people to thank, but I'd first like to thank Chris Way and the Hastings staff for allowing us to use their library today. And also Terry and LexMedia for recording the event and making it available to folks at home. I'd also like to thank the district, especially Dr. Hackett, Caitlin Ahern, Jennifer Gaudet, and Chris Lyons. Don't know where you are. Hello. So thank you so much. All right. So, last school year, LEF provided $273,000 to fund 30 teacher-initiated grants. These grants promote diversity, equity, inclusion throughout our schools. They build community, promote joy in learning, assist with reading and writing support, advance social and restorative justice, and build new skills. This could not have been made possible without the help of our dedicated volunteers, our board members and committee members that work so hard behind the scenes to raise all this money. Thank you so much for everything you do. We'd also like to thank our community, specifically our PTOs and PTAs, our individual and family donors, anyone that's purchased a Star Award or attended our events or donated to us, such as Wilson Farms, who donated these beautiful cookies. They look so delicious. And lastly, our corporate sponsors. These are our gold and platinum level sponsors, and they've been supporting us for many years. Beth Sager Group, Chase Plumbing, Copey and Sears, Pediatric Dentistry, Levine Orthodontics, Massport, Lexington Dental Associates, and Russian School of Math. And lastly, I would just like to draw your attention to some of the things that LEF does. We host several fundraising events annually, and our upcoming event is the Celebration for Education, which will take place on June 9th and 10th at the lower field of Hayden. And Friday night will be a free family-friendly event featuring the Lexington High School Robotics Club. And Saturday evening will be a themed adults-only party. We encourage you to like our social media pages to learn more about our grants and upcoming events. From here, we're going to get started on the grants, and we are going to move to this side of the room, and then we have to go to Estabrook, and then I think we'll come back here and go around. All right, and then there are 4 of you that I do have presentations linked here. I guess I can keep it up there. All right, so Lexington High School, is it?
Yes.
Great. Do you guys want to come up here? Thank you.
So my name is Caroline Fantasia, and I am a 9th grade English teacher at LHS, but I'm also a Lexington resident and have been for many years. And in fact, Dr. Copey is my kid's dentist, and her father was my husband's dentist. So we've been here for quite some time, and I have been participating in the LEF events for as long as my kids went through the school system, and really enjoyed the Celebration for Education. So I'm looking forward to that event again. But what we asked for this year as the 9th grade English teacher team was a grant for writing instruction. And so we got some textbooks this year, and we really enjoyed them. We just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to innovate and to experiment with these kinds of writing instruction materials. The benefits from it was a unified rubric across the 9th grade, which really provides equitable access to all of our students and gives them a strong support as they move forward into their high school career. this is their base, their foundation year. So if they could see that, there's a consistency across all classrooms, it provides them with the skill that they all need to access the curriculum equally. And it also is very helpful. We have some long-term subs coming in for pregnancy. And so to have these materials and these textbooks ready to go, waiting for the long-term subs, we can just ensure that smooth and easy transition for them. We used primarily 3 units, a World's End unit, a Journeys from Transformation unit, and we used the Romeo and Juliet unit that they had to bolster our own materials. And I particularly enjoy some of their supplemental materials. They have like fun video clips that you can use to bolster the writing and the reading. So for example, the World's End unit, they had a clip of the I Am Legend movie with Will Smith, so you could start those conversations of what sort of commentary the author is making about the world around us, and it really triggers their imagination. So thank you again for the opportunity for us to explore this curriculum and writing instruction.
And I'm just going to add a few things. I'm Jane Day. I'm the head of the English department at the high school. While the vast bulk of this work was done by the 9th grade, the added bonus for us is that that foundation that's been laid so strongly now there follows the students through their high school career. And the common rubric that Caroline spoke to earlier is the same rubric that is used in grade 10 and will continue to be. And as you can imagine, that consistency across the board is really beneficial to the students and the teachers. Mm-hmm. And when we go looking at data, then we know we have real meaningful data to look at. So we thank you so much for your support in that work. It's been so helpful.
All right, I can go next. Yes. Thank you for letting me sort of jump the line. I apologize, I have to leave early and can't hear all of these wonderful presentations, but I have a few notes, so if you don't mind bearing with me while I read off of some of these notes. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Jennifer Oriel, who's the Hastings liaison for LEF. Thank you. If it weren't for you encouraging me and supporting me to apply for a fellowship grant, I probably wouldn't have, so thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer helped me to apply for a fellowship grant to complete my Orton Gillingham seminar and practicum through the Commonwealth Learning Network. And I've always wanted to complete this specialized training to gain more skill and technique for supporting our struggling readers across the grades. Every child's journey in learning to read and write is different. And in my 30 plus years teaching, it's taught me that no single approach is going to always work successfully for every student. So having multiple tools in my toolbox as an educator really helps me tailor instruction to meet the needs of students depending on their strengths and their areas of most need. The gift of a practicum experience is that I get hands-on experience teaching students, live students, in-person students, while also receiving that immediate and consistent feedback through the fellows at Commonwealth Learning Network. I've now completed and developed 68 out of the required 100 lessons for the practicum, and I've been observed teaching 7 of these lessons by an OG fellow. After each observation, I've received feedback on my teaching moves, as well as observations and insights about the student's progress and goals and next steps for that student. This school year, I have already used my new skills in multisensory practice exercises, in teaching orthography and morphology with students in grades 1, 2, 3, and 5. My 5th grade students this year have enjoyed learning some interesting facts about the English language spellings, like for instance, no word in English can be spelled with a V at the end, and that many of our most common high-frequency words are spelled irregularly because they're based on Anglo-Saxon, and many of the pronunciations over time have dropped off, but the spellings haven't met that. So older grade students enjoy kind of studying these fun facts that they go home and tell their parents about that most of us don't know. So thank you again to the LEF. I've wanted to do this training for many years, and I'm thrilled that I have the opportunity to do that and to give that back to the students at Hastings School. So thank you.
We do have slides, so do I just click on it here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Jennifer Kuhn. I'm the librarian at Estabrook.
And I am Rebecca Alt. I'm one of the ELL teachers at Estabrook. Our grant is really for all of the elementary ELL teachers, all of the librarians. So we're kind of here to represent both. It came, and I don't know, I can't get our slides up, but I'll get there.
You just need to double click it.
Oh, okay. This grant came from one that was already written about 10,
I think it was 11
12,
years ago.
11 years
Yeah.
ago, where we brought books into the library in other languages, but it's been 10 or 11 years and our school system looks different now. And so we wanted to update our books to that, which I can't show you. But I can kind of talk about what was on there. So the first step we did was to see what languages we have in our schools at this point and the trends for the growth in our schools.
So we're still in the process of everything that's going on.
Yes.
So we've done a lot of work looking at the languages that we have, looking at the books that we currently have, because we have purchased some throughout the years, since the 11 years, besides the big bulk that we had there, but not a big chunk.
Yes.
So we're looking to update the languages and also think our original grant was more for books that specifically aligned with the curriculum, and we've noticed that since we've had these libraries in our these smaller libraries within our libraries, that a lot of students who are not necessarily working with the ELL teachers are really excited to find books in languages that they speak at home as well. So sort of looking at those languages and books for that purpose as well to update.
You're doing great.
So we're in the process of our first order should be placed by the end of the week. We're working with new vendors that we need to get aligned and everything. Not every book that we would hope to find is out there in other languages that we would hope to find, but we're doing our best.
And we also had to talk to the teachers first to find out what type of books do we want: short fiction, picture books, what grade levels do we need the books for. So if we had it, we'd have a little pie chart to show you. And
Wait. All right, Chris.
Maybe it's
Just
coming.
email or something.
well, obviously we want lots of different languages, lots of grade levels, lots of different types of books. The majority were around grades 2 to 3 and short fiction, which I don't know, what would be an example: Mercy Watson,
Mercy Watson, Magic Tree House.
so that they can use them for fun, but also in the classroom as well, so they can talk to their peers about their books.
Which languages are you focusing on? Just high level?
Yeah, so we have a tiered chart. So our highest population languages right now are Chinese, Spanish, I think Japanese was up there, Arabic, Russian, Portuguese. We're working on finding Hindi books, so we're trying to do that. But we also have Tamil, French, German. So the majority are going to be kind of at the top, but we're trying to get as many languages as we can so it can represent our students in our school.
And the LEF was very generous, so we have almost $10,000 to be spending on these books. I mean, some of them, a Japanese picture book can cost up to $50, so it doesn't go as far as books that we would just be picking up on Amazon, but we're excited for the books that we're going to be able to get.
Thank you.
Okay. It's not.
There it is.
Yeah, I think we're
Do you
good.
mind if I went next? Is that okay? 'Cause I-
Yeah, I don't think we need it.
I know we're
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
So you can see our tiers there, yeah, and some of those are the polls we gave them. So book types, age range,
And
and then we had
last
some just
slide
pictures
just had
of
a
some
few
books
pictures of some of the books
that
that
we'd be choosing.
we're looking at.
Great. Hi, I'm Carrie Dunn. I'm the history department head at LHS, so thank you very much. My department was very fortunate to receive a large, about $10,000 program grant to help us launch 2 new courses this year: African American history and Asian American history. They're both 1 semester courses. They are open to grades 9 through 12. We have teachers who've developed them really from scratch. And what the program grant enabled us to do was to give them paid time over the summer to work on that, to use other professionals in the building as consultants who assisted in that course development. We brought in 5 students and paid them to help us review resources and develop the curriculum. And then we found a gentleman who's kind of a unicorn in the land of ethnic studies in Eastern Massachusetts. His name is James Aikita. He's a teacher at Quincy High, where he worked with the African American Student Union there to launch, and he teaches their African American history course. But then he also developed and teaches the Asian American history course at Bunker Hill Community College. So he came in and supported our 2 teachers in developing the curriculum, and then has stayed kind of on call throughout the school year as a curriculum coach for those 2 teachers. And also, the grant funded some investment in some new materials for the courses as well. And they are off to a great start. Student feedback is really, really good. They'll be back next year. So it truly was a launch. We just needed the one-shot injection of cash to get it off the ground, and it's off the ground and flying high. So thank you. The other 2 small grants we had in our department, one came to Kristen, and one came, so we had very parallel experiences.
Right, exactly.
We both applied for NEH institutes. They run them every summer. They're a little tricky to get into, but they're really great. They're these fully funded, topical institutes that run all over the country. And I was accepted into one for Asian American history, focused on Chinese and Japanese immigration to California, right? In California's Asian American history, out of UC Davis, which has a wonderful Asian Studies department. And Kristen?
I was accepted to one in Tucson, Arizona that focused on Native American history, border relations, and changes that have happened in that border area historically throughout, as well as like desert studies and water. So one of our 9th grade themes is how does environment affect culture? And so this was like a perfect way to talk about it, and it was a great integration to our Native American unit, which we're building as we go. And I've never been out there. It was amazing.
My experience was also amazing. It was really field-based, a lot of time up in the mountains of California and San Francisco. It was terrific.
Yeah.
Now, one nice thing about NEH Institutes is that they're theoretically fully funded. The program itself is free if you're accepted, and they give you enough money to cover your expenses for going, except for when Kristen and I went to book our tickets to the West Coast. As many of you who traveled last summer might have discovered, the costs were much, much higher than they usually were. So that basically left each of us with like a $600, $700 shortfall. And we reached out to the LEF that everything else was funded, but they covered that gap.
It was amazing.
So we really appreciated it. And I was able to do a workshop for teachers, right, as part of our district professional development time, on what I learned from my program, and Kristen.
And I presented to the whole freshman team about what we learned there, so we could really share the resources, and yeah.
You also got a lot of materials that you shared with our elementary.
Oh yeah, that's
social
true.
studies
Right,
coach.
right. I brought back a whole half suitcase full for the 4th grade for the 4th grade team because of the LEF grant. So I was able to spend $200 in 4th grade supplies for just books about the desert, about Native American life there, all the things that I could find at the university or at all the places we visited, and brought those back. So it was great.
So thank you
so
for
much.
helping our department in many, many ways. Right?
Yeah.
Someone from LCP had to get going too.
Yes.
Would you like to go
We're
next?
gonna all go together.
Okay.
This all works too?
Games for all.
Games for all.
Yes.
It's
So
a
that is a
video,
video, so
Escape.
we'll talk quickly.
You're just gonna have to turn on the volume.
So moving to the new
Okay, now
LC
what?
building, we had a beautiful new motor room where we could use it for kids when it was a rainy day, if it was too cold to go outside, and if you've ever worked in preschool, you know you need those kids to move. You can't keep them in their rooms. So it was empty and beautiful, and we got a few things from LEF, like the big blue blocks, which you'll see in the pictures. and some jumping mats and exercise mats. But we really kicked it up a notch, and Carissa was able to get us a magic box, which is an interactive floor and wall activity. And then we also did some more low-tech activities as well. And what we have here is the teachers can go in if it's a rainy day, and they can look at day 2, and they can select 3 things, so they don't even have to think about it. And they can set it up. And yeah, so thanks so much, because it's really been amazing for all of our students who have inclusive play. I think the high points, of course, is the magic box, but we also have a wheelchair tunnel. We have a big, giant, jumpy thing, but we'll let the video sort of speak for
Yes, thank
ourselves.
you
So
for
thank
all
you
the-
so much. It's been
All
amazing.
the fun ways we can do, have fun at preschool.
Yes. Big bubble blower for outside.
Bubbles are good in any season. So we have a floor unit and a wall unit, so all abilities can access them.
Giant tunnel back there.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next for French.
Okay.
And Tracy.
Join you.
Yes, so we'll talk about our school community grant. And coming here to this school, you can see the library is beautiful and it was recently redone. Well, Tracy's our librarian at Bridge, and we realized that we needed to up our game over at Bridge. So Tracy wrote a grant, and it's been amazing to go into the library now to see, she'll talk a bit about it, but the novel engineering that she does in there, all the flexible seating. So you want to give some highlights?
Sure. Yes. It's just so important that we create a community space in our library, a welcoming space. This is my second year in the library. So last year was my first year there, and I really thank LEF for supporting this vision of a community space, a creative space. So we have soft seating with an area with soft furniture, flexible furniture. And also, maker area and maker materials that we can craft and create with. And this is all stuff that we're using during our library time, but also in the other times of the day when teachers come in to do special projects and novel engineering. So I thank you very much for helping to follow this vision of a community space, a creative space, and thank you. We're on our way.
So, thank you.
Okay.
We'll keep the bridge train rolling.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I can go first.
Okay, sure.
I'm Sean Wood, and I got the teacher fellowship to be certified in the Wilson Reading System Level 1, and the end goal will be to be a certified dyslexia practitioner. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had access to these materials for years, but now I actually know how to use them the way that they were designed. And so it has been wonderful to get a practicum student who has honestly been disengaged a lot from school, partly because the student is extraordinarily bright, but is very dyslexic. And I can tell you with the greatest amount of pride that she has doubled her reading words per minute since we began. And she, this past month, has had 0 absences. So they're, along with building her academic skills, we're building her investment in the school community, her participation in the classroom, and when it comes to closing the gap, part of it is getting these kiddos to come to school, to want to come to school because they're getting the teaching that is specifically designed for them. And she loves to be in my room. We do our work during our scheduled times, and I got permission from Mom to take her for a couple hours after school to increase that rate of progress to try to really close that gap. So it's been very exciting to change the life of this one child who now believes that she can succeed. She talks about college plans. She comes to school every day. She's involved in, different aspects of the community. And it's just wonderful to see. And it's overflowing. It's bubbling over with the peer group. It's turned into a lunch group in my room on Wednesdays. But I just like the excitement and the enthusiasm for learning that really stemmed from applying for this grant. Thank you, Patricia Jacketon, who isn't here, who has pushed me for several years to do this, but we got derailed through the pandemic, to really build up children in this way.
And I'm Carrie Jewett, also from Bridge. I'm a special education reading teacher, and I also did the Orton Gillingham graduate course and associate level practicum. And it's hilarious because just before I came here, I printed out lesson 68. We're right on track. I mean, if anything in Lexington, we do our homework. So I'm also working on 100 lessons, and I'm on 68, and I'm getting the practicum experience working with one student and getting the feedback from the Orton Gillingham Fellow, which has been invaluable because the fellow that I'm working with has been using this approach for, probably 35 years. So she has so much advice and just wonderful feedback to give to help me on my way. I mean, when I started the Orton Gillingham practicum, a colleague said to me, you've always been knowing about what to do with kids who struggle with reading, but now you're going to be finding out the why. And I really think that is what Orton Gillingham has helped me with, to really understand kind of the structure of the English language and how knowing that structure can sort of demystify a lot of the difficulties that kids have with reading and spelling. And I really like the fact that it's diagnostic prescriptive, so it's not the same for every student. No child, no learner is the same. So it really has that facet of trusting teacher judgment that I feel as though after this practicum and after this experience, I can look at the student in front of me and really think mindfully about what this student needs. What do I feel like the pacing should be? And I can really respond on a moment-by-moment basis based on my understanding of the principles and also taking into account, what is best for this student. So it's been incredibly rewarding, and I'm so thankful. My student, at the beginning of this year was, reading at 31 words per minute, and, her average of her last few is 66 words a minute. So, she's come a really long way. And her accuracy, I think it went from, 85%, which is, kind of shaky, and her last few have averaged 96%. So she's coming a long way, and I'm learning a ton. So thank you so much.
Thank you to all you reading teachers out there. When I was in first grade at Hastings, not this Hastings, I used to go to a reading specialist. For those of you who were at the old Hastings, it was in like the cupboard next to the cafeteria. I loved it so much that once I graduated, I asked if I could keep going. So, I remember her, I remember the boys that were with me, so you reading teachers make a huge difference in kids' lives. So I think I turned out pretty successfully, so I think I did okay. So thank you to all of you guys. Yeah, thanks.
Dane, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hey everybody, I'm Dane Depre. I'm the principal at Clark. Nice to see so many Clark folks here in the community. Thanks for making it today. I want to talk about a couple of things related to our school community grant. And so I wanted to update everybody as to last year's school community grant, because when we met last spring, we had yet to actually receive the training for restorative justice from Suffolk University for our group of early adopters, which was a group of 20 educators from Clark who received education in what's considered Tier 1, so at the classroom level, restorative justice. When we think about restorative justice, oftentimes we think about conflict resolution and thinking about how to repair harm. But when we learn more about restorative justice, we learn that it's important to have a culture to restore in the first place, and that's what Tier 1 restorative justice training is all about. So developing what is considered a circle culture in the classroom. And so we had 20 educators receive that training last spring. And I've just heard so many great things this year with educators and students and from parents about the implementation of that in our classrooms at Clark. And so it's been implemented to various degrees. People have different experiences and different settings in the classroom. So we have some special educators with small groups. We have some classroom gen ed classroom teachers with the classes of 20 to 25 students. And so it's been really helpful to get that feedback about early adoption at the classroom level this year. I just wanted to read an email that I received from a parent at the end of the first trimester this year about one teacher's application of the circle culture and the impact on their child. Dane, I've been meaning to write you for a while to let you know that I really appreciate the monthly circles that this teacher has been holding in the class where a child, I'm trying to remove the names here, sorry. So our child's class, I think it can be quite difficult for kids of this age to figure out how to get to know people outside of the social groups they're already in. They think that friend groups and social hierarchies are set and inflexible, and that's tough because their interests are changing. So a friend group that might be a good fit one year might not be the next year. In doing the circles, our child has gotten to know students she wouldn't have otherwise, has come to see some of the things other kids are struggling with, and has felt closer to them as a result. And ultimately has made new friends at a time when she really wanted some additional friends. She has been sitting with her new friends from this class at lunch recently, and this has meant a lot to her. I'll stop quoting the email there, but this class with this child went on to actually surprise their teacher with a circle of their own development a couple months later, and just talking about how much they appreciate the class. And so that is an example of the impact that it's had. Another impact that I can talk about is we were hoping to continue this trend of using our school community grant for this purpose, but actually this work is so important and so impactful that we know the district has taken it up. And so the excitement of that first round of educators at Clark has been shared with other teachers, other educators at Clark. I think we are now at another 15 to 20 have received training this year through the district resources that are provided. So we know there's a growing interest that we will continue to build over the course of the next few years to establish this culture. And through the early adopters from last year's group, last spring's group, we're able to learn so much more about the challenges, implementation challenges, and think about what will be necessary to bring this on scale to the whole school community. So that's an update for last year. This year's school community grant, since we can't go in the direction of restorative justice, we are hoping to follow up on what Bridge presented and renew our community space, refresh it in the library at Clark in order to develop some flexible seating, some AV presentation equipment, and some additional furniture in order to bring the community back in. It's been amazing this year to kind of bring back a lot of the old traditions that were on hold during the pandemic, and we want to have a space that we can welcome groups in. So we'll be continuing that work this spring, and I just want to say thank you for all of that, LEF. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Way. I'm the principal here at Hastings. I just wanted to go immediately after Dan. Actually, I was waiting for him to go so he could explain what restorative justice was. And so explain that again. But thank you, Dan. So our grant this year was similar to what Dane had implemented last spring, and that was to train many of our staff members, a cohort of 20 of them, in restorative justice. And one of the reasons why was because this Hastings building is a brand new building, but it's also a brand new community. It has brand new teachers, it has brand new students that are coming from different schools. And one of the bases that we wanted to do was build a community of our own and introduce some of the old Hastings and bring in some of the new Hastings. We went from a school of 400 students to a school of 600 something. And so building community is going to be really important for the next several years as we establish ourselves in this new building. And using restorative justice as a place where students in a circle community can build advocacy, build themselves, and also kind of understand everyone's perceptions because we don't take the time to do that anymore. We live in a digital world where we have social media, where we text, where we're just skimming through information, and we don't have the time to sit down and talk to one another to gain each other's perspectives. And that's what restorative justice, that's what the circle kind of format does. It allows us to take the time to breathe, to have a one-on-one conversation where I am looking you in the eye and then we're getting each other's different perspectives. It also is very good in terms of just restoring harm in a community that's already been set, as Dan said also. And so we've been using restorative justice in many of our disputes, I would call them, at our elementary level between different students. And it's been really, really nice to see students being able to use their language, to be able to talk out their differences. And what you find out is something that was surface level on the playground was actually building up from something that happened like maybe last year or even just a few days ago. And so you're able to have that venue to share that with the people in front of you. I want to thank Jennifer Oriel for really just walking me through the whole grant process and what I need to do, and what I need to do is a lot of work. So and thank you so much.
It didn't mean it was a lot of work.
But in terms of just what we're building here at Hastings is that laying down that foundation to make sure that all the students here feel good about themselves. And it really helped with the theme that I set forth with my staff was relationships, building relationships with each other and also with the students themselves, because you can teach kids everything, right? In an elementary level. They may not remember everything you taught them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that's what restorative justice helps, is reflect on how you're making them feel as an individual and building the whole student as well. So thank you, LEF, because you don't understand, I hope you understand how much this is going to just benefit like future generations, but all of Hastings as well. So thank you.
Crystal is representing Estabrook today and
Via
Rebecca,
school
she's
community
grant. Oh, and Rebecca's
She's bringing me back up too.
Can't do this by myself.
Moral support.
So I'm Crystal Velasquez. I am the social worker at Estabrook. And so I guess I'm going to talk about restorative justice as well. But I also was not here last year to thank LEF for the fellowship that I was awarded. So if it's okay if I could just speak on that really quickly. So LEF was really generous in giving me a fellowship to complete professional certification from Suffolk to for restorative justice to be able to train. So I want to thank LEF for that because I was able to use my training and certification to actually train staff. And Rebecca is one colleague that I was able to train over the this past year. And I was able to do a training over the summer as well for some faculty and staff, which has been really great. And then in terms of our school community grant, we wrote a grant to train our equity team, which is also serving as our restorative justice leadership team in our building. And what we are using the grant for was to train all of our equity team or our RJ leadership team in Tier 1 restorative justice, and also we are moving toward training Tier 2 training, which is more restorative chats and things like that, which is the next level. But as everyone else, so Dane and Chris have explained, Tier 1 practices are those that are community building. So what we are hoping to do is we have a brand new principal at Estabrook this year, so we felt that it was important for us to focus on building community with brand new leadership, and that starts with the adults in our building. So what we've been trying to do is using circle practice at our staff meetings, and with our equity team of 16 people that have been trained, they have been actually facilitating smaller circles within our staff meetings. So they've been using that practice and using those skills in running circles themselves. So we've been able to do that, and our goal is to hopefully write a grant and to be able to train our staff, most of our staff in Tier 1, so that they can be running these in their classrooms and starting to use these practices with students.
I can speak to being a Tier 1 trainee. I had done circles before, but I didn't really know the why to what we were doing with the circles. So when we had the Tier 1 training, which was awesome, we got that idea of like why we're doing this, how does this help our school, and so really gave us that ownership to the circles that we were doing, and just brought excitement to going to go do circles. I know we have some teachers who are doing them every week, right? Every week, so it's really cool.
So I have a 5th grade teacher who did the training with me over the summer, and she's been doing them every day. And so she, right from the get-go, was like, I'm doing this right for day one. And so she really bought into it. And so I think once our teachers are trained and they really understand the why and go through the process themselves, because once you do the training, you're fully immersed in it for 2 days. They'll understand the purposes behind it. And so that's our goal. And so I just want to thank LEF for the opportunity to have our 16 core members, leadership team trained. And then hopefully moving forward, we can train our staff so that we can start building, have our school become a restorative justice school. So that's our goal. So thank you.
Hey Glenn, are you speaking about the Pilarski summer workshops?
I think Dr. Lyons will do it this year.
Hey everybody, thank you all. I'll be really quick so we can get back to hearing all the details of the folks who have implemented things today. But I'm Chris Lyons, Assistant Superintendent for personnel and staff supports, and the LEF generously augments the resources that we have available to fund these workshops every year. And this year, you generously gave us $55,000 to use, and we spent every penny.
Great.
We spent it pre-K through 12. We spent it in every single subject area. So the workshops and the projects and the curriculum that was built and the projects and the products that were developed literally will touch every single student. and every single teacher pre-K through 12. So it's wonderful to continue to collaborate with you on this, and we look forward to doing that in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm Reggie Hobbs, Science Department Head at Lexington High School. So I just want to thank LEF for a green chemistry grant. So obviously chemistry, one of the things when you teach it in our 11th grade is you're thinking about chemical waste, right, and the global pollution, not only the cost, but the message you're sending to your students when you are disposing of things and things like that. So we were able to partner through LEF with a nonprofit called Beyond Benign, who does work across the country with this green chemistry, and to do it in a way that makes sense. Because one of the ways you can simply do green chemistry is just limit your waste. So you do microchemistry. But that's hard, and there's a lot of limitations with that for kids, for accessibility and things. So we're able to partner. We have a consultant that's come in several times. We've been able to train 12 teachers on that green chemistry. I thought we would have resistance in that move to it. We were overwhelmingly accepted of it. We even had other teachers that aren't teaching chemistry this year want to come in and look on it, which has been great. So they're continuing to build and adapt labs to do it. I think the positive is we've gotten the jump starters or in the MSBA pipeline for a new high school. When they build new schools, they don't build gas lines with Bunsen burners. That's a staple in all your chemistries from ever. So we're now be able to move away and have alternatives to Bunsen burners. So we've started that process early, and we're able to now think about classroom spaces in a green way, in a better way, and also have these conversations with students about better choices that you make as a community member, as a lifelong citizen, the impact it has in the world. The long-lasting impact, I think, for us and for me as the head of the department is we're also able to train 3 teachers through Beyond Benign as teacher leaders, as a resource that people can go to and work on those things. So that is invaluable going forward with it. The other part that I think is super invaluable for us is AP Chemistry has very old school traditional curriculum that they offer, which is not environmentally friendly. Beyond Benign provided tried and true ways to get results and to get experiments that do the exact same things, the exact same calculations, all those things without it. So that's been a huge benefit across the board, and we look forward to building it and keep moving everything green as we go forward, hopefully reducing our waste costs, but also showing our students the value and how you can do things in a more environmentally friendly way. So it doesn't happen with LEF, so thank you guys very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Baker from Fisk Elementary School, principal at Fisk. I have to say I'm impressed. Not one of you have looked at a note, but that's not me. I have my notes here. I do want to say thank you to the LEF. Through your community grant, we were able to take our Fisk equity team as well as some other staff members on a field trip to the new METCO headquarters in Nubian Square in Roxbury, and it was a great experience. LEF provided transportation for staff as well as lunch from one of the local restaurants, and we ate our lunch while we learned the history of the METCO program as well as all that METCO has to offer to its members. And through our talks, there's a great museum there. We weren't able to, because we ended up talking so long about the history and all that they have to offer. They do offer guided tours, and I believe students do the guided tour through Nubian Square and give you the history of Nubian Square. So I would highly recommend, I don't know what days they offer them, I believe Saturdays, but if you have a chance, Caitlin was able to join us and Barbara Hamilton. It's a great little field trip, so thank you very much for that. And then also, I didn't realize that Fisk School was the only school that did not have a welcoming monitor in our front lobby, so thank you to LEF for purchasing and paying for the installation of our monitor to share, as you all know, the monitor share information about what's going on in the school, what's coming up through the district, and depending on the month, whatever it may be, we have different information to share that hopefully allows our students and staff members to see themselves reflected in different stories through the monitor itself. So thank you all very, very much.
Hi everyone. My name is Sarah Doonan. I am the middle school instructional math coach over at Diamond.
And I'm Riley DiMattei. I teach 8th grade math at Clark.
And we applied for an LEF fellowship grant to attend the UCube Summer Camp Curriculum Conference this past March 7th and 8th in Sanford, California, led by Joe Bowler.
It was an amazing experience. I think we have quite a few math teachers in the district that are really big fans. So we got to attend and learn from her firsthand, and there was teachers from all over the world, including Canada, India, and New Zealand. So we got to interact with a lot of different teachers.
Yeah, and the workshop focused on the curriculum and teaching approach developed by Joe Bowler and the UCube team. It's all about growth mindset, which I'm sure everyone here is probably familiar with, which is the belief that intelligence grows and that the more you learn, the more neural pathways you develop.
So the way we talk about it in our math classrooms is talking about math mindset, and I think after the pandemic, we saw a lot of fixed mindsets happening. So being able to learn how to implement the growth mindset in the math classroom was something that we really were excited to learn about.
So we actually got to, what made this conference specifically so special was that we actually got to take away all of the curriculum materials, which in the past, some of these conferences, you kind of walk away with the ideas or just sort of learning about, you know, sort of what growth mindset's all about. But we actually got to walk away with the UCube Summer Camp curriculum. And this particular curriculum was shown to improve student scores on standardized mathematics tests by an average of 50%. So equaling like a growth rate of about 2.8 years. And so this increase not only was from before and after students receiving this programming, but also extended throughout the following year in their math classes.
So like Sarah was saying, we got to take home all of these great rich tasks, and we actually got to see a couple interviews with students about how it affected them. So that was really cool to see how the impact grew. We haven't had a chance to do much implementation yet, but the plan is to start using these tasks in our classroom. The curriculum's being shared with everyone that wants it. And
there are already some math teachers at both middle schools using some of the tasks already, which is amazing.
And then like the big plan is to use it during the summer program. So that'll be exciting to see.
And I'm actually writing a summer workshop proposal right now, hey guys, to be able to put these things together, to be able to actually design pre-planned lessons for all the math teachers in grades 6, 7, and 8 to be able to use for the first 2 weeks of school, to be able to really, immerse their classrooms and their students in sort of what math mindset's all about. So, and then continuing that and being able to sort of take all these rich thinking tasks and organizing them by grade and by standard so that teachers can very easily implement them into their regular lessons throughout the rest of the school year.
LEF, we love it when you guys, people from different schools work together as LEF, because we just like that you're sharing all the information, but then also as a parent with kids in different schools. So just so you all know, when we hear like, oh, Clark and Diamond teacher are doing something together, LEF's always like, yes.
Hi everybody, my name is Jenny Kordak. I am the principal at Bowman. And our school community grant this year was really a pretty awesome thing, because the idea for hosting 2 published school authors came from a school site council meeting that I had. We too were super lucky, thank you. We too were super lucky in the fact that our library got a facelift. We purchased the furniture last year and it showed up this past fall. Super terrific in the sense that we swapped out shelving that we had that was too tall. We couldn't see our littles as they were making their way through our book stacks. We also had tables and chairs that were not the appropriate height and didn't fit our students. So we were kind of gung-ho and excited about this idea that we were getting some new library furniture. And to celebrate, we had this idea of hosting 2 authors. So the first of our 2 authors was Corinne Demas, And she met with our students in grades 3, 4, and 5. She met with individual homerooms. She had a jam-packed day. She has actually published 36 different children's books, some of which are chapter books, historical fiction, nonfiction, you name it, she's told the story about it. She talked to our older students about the process she goes through when it comes to writing a book. In my conversations with her, I shared with her how we go about the process of teaching our children how to write, and how I was hoping that her process for writing mimicked a lot of what we are teaching our students in our classrooms every day with our Writers Workshop program. So that's basically what Corinne did. She talked to our kids about the life of an author, about how she comes up with her ideas, and in the process of coming up with her ideas, the research that oftentimes is incorporated and goes along with the ideas that kind of get sparked with her. Our kids were absolutely riveted. So she would read some of her books and then pause and talk about how that part of the book, how it changed over time, the different editing that she went through, the way the illustrations became part of the story and how she incorporated those. So she was true and authentic and did exactly what we were hoping our older students would get out of her visit. Our younger students, kindergarten, first and second graders, spent time with Kentrell Martin, who is the author of Shelley's Adventures. Kentrell tells the story about how when he was growing up, his younger brother was a person who was deaf and hard of hearing. And as a result, the family needed to learn American Sign Language, which they did. So Kentrell has written stories with Shelley being the main character, and she is a person, picture books, and she goes out in the world and has different experiences at the grocery store, at the zoo, at the beach. And infused through all of these stories that he's written about Shelley are, he's teaching American Sign Language as he goes along the way. And so our kindergarten, first and second graders engaged in the storytelling and books that he shared, while also being taught between 30 and 35 American signs by the time the whole story had wrapped up. It was actually really, really cool. And he was from Tampa, Florida. He flew all the way up to be with us. So I think this is a video. Chris, why is that? This grant was written in conjunction with Melinda Loop, who is our Bowman School librarian, and Maggie Aikenhead, who is one of our phenomenal literacy specialists. And Jess Croce, big shout out to you as our LEF liaison. We thank you for your help and support with all of this. Oh, maybe I did a picture after all. So there's another picture. There you go. Well, it was nice that I gave you some visuals. You had an idea about what our day was like with these two phenomenal authors. This was a really great way to use our school community grants because in our previous experience with them, we have focused on adult education, which we certainly heard a lot about today. We made a conscious decision to use our school grants to put the focus and put the work in with our kids. And it was all in all a terrific day. I have a funny story. When Kentrell, the day he came, it happened to also be Storybook Character Day, which we did on purpose. So he shows up at school, and I'm dressed as someone from Harry Potter. Who was I? Professor McGonagall. And my assistant principal, Noah Hill, is dressed as Harry. And then my other person on my admin team, Betsy Lamore, our ETS, was dressed as Hermione Granger. So we show up, he comes to the door, and we're dressed in our Hogwarts stuff, and our kids are all coming through in their costumes, and he got quite a chuckle out of that. But all in all, it was a great day. So thank you so much, Lexington Education Foundation. Without your help and support, things like these experiences would definitely not be possible. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hallie Wells, and I actually was hired this week 18 years ago at Hastings. So it brings really warm, happy happy feeling to my heart because my kids all started at about the same time, and I've worked between Clark and Diamond for all of those years across populations and in every program. So I've learned so much from everybody here, and I really appreciate that. So my grant was a fellowship grant to have the opportunity to attend a mindful self-compassion retreat as part of a 5-year teacher training to become a trained teacher in mindful self-compassion. The week-long retreat was this past October. It had been rescheduled because the first one was offered 3 days into the shutdown. So I was like, I have my first business trip in 16 years. And then there it went. But it was rescheduled, you know, silver linings. And so I had opportunities to just keep practicing the mindfulness piece as well as the ability to give myself self-compassion during many dark, challenging days during COVID when it was hard to find any positivity, and learning to source it in yourself during those times is very challenging. But once you've done that and you can be there for yourself, that's when the payoff happens, and that happens for really the rest of your life. It's just building that neural pathway, which takes time, and that's why they like us to really set aside 5 years. Now, the impetus of this coursework is that I was noticing for years that I was at the school that when my students were disappointed, they would really get down upon themselves. You know, I work with a special ed population, and they became frustrated. They've struggled for much of their lives, and they would feel defeated. And then I would see them react in a way that they would seem to be flooded with emotion. And if you've ever worked with a student that is having this experience, they're having cloudy thoughts. They can't think clearly, and so they're not going to be open to teaching. They're not going to be open to being social. They're not going to be open to being kind to themselves. And then I noticed that a lot with my fellow teachers, that we're working so hard, but we're feeling defeated, deflated, feeling like, what else can I do? What am I doing wrong? And then being a Lexington parent where there's a little bit of pressure, I had friends that were feeling the same way. And the nice part about this programming is that there are usually 12 to 14 attendees in a cohort with 2 teachers. It is an 8-week program, and it usually happens once a week for 2.5 hours per week, but there could be an intensive if that's what people preferred, which is a 5-day program in succession. And you're usually with people that have similar struggles. So I want to, as a thank you to LEF, to offer a class, you know, gratis to the parents, to give them a chance to have this opportunity, knowing that if parents have this way to understand themselves better and be kinder to themselves for all of the challenges that happen and the unpredictability from one moment to the next, then they will probably feel a little bit more comfortable and confident at home with their children. And maybe that is going to be that paying it forward piece. In addition, I think I would love to have an opportunity to work with all different kinds of teachers in our community that might be going through different experiences. You know, people that are going through a divorce, that's kind of its own population, because when you have 12 or 14, it's a trusted circle. We might have people who are all parents of children who do have physical or some emotional challenges, and they have struggles of their own. And so trying to kind of try to put together these groups of people that need support and learn over time that they can find that in themselves. And I understand if people have to go, but some people hear this mindful self-compassion or other type of programs because it's therapeutic, it's not therapy, that seem a little woo-woo or not kind of founded in research, and this is. And so, well, I'm giving more details. It's really so you understand kind of the who, the what, and the why. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said that for someone to develop genuine compassion toward others, first, they must have a basis upon which to cultivate compassion. And that basis is the ability to connect with one's own feelings and to care for one's own welfare. Caring for others requires caring for oneself. And this is precisely what we do in the Mindful Self-Compassion program. The mindfulness part is connecting with one's own feelings, and the compassion part is caring for one's own welfare. I also like to quote from Rumi, which captures a lot of what we do in the MSc program. Rumi said, "Close your eyes, fall in love. Stay there." So if you close your eyes and we see something attractive, we're likely to fall in love. In other words, we can appreciate ourselves, we're buoyed, we have warm feelings. But if we do this long enough, then we start to see things and we consider unlovely, or we feel things we don't like to feel. Then what? How do we stay giving kindness to ourselves, giving appreciation to ourselves? Because we were still that loving person, even when we weren't able to do things 100%. And understanding that we are separate from the things we do. And with that growth mindset and being able to source ourselves, we can come back to that capacity. And it just reminds me of students that have studied so hard. And I see them there, with their struggle, and they do really well on one test and they just feel like 100%. They have all this energy. And then somehow when they don't do as well, so much of what they have and their feelings and even the ability to communicate with others is lost in minutes. And so I really like the way that I won't necessarily be able to carry out the whole program because it is truly created for adults. But there was just a new program, which is Mindfulness for Teens, released in the past month. So to be continued. But anyway, that's where compassion comes in. Compassion is love in the face of suffering. And with self-compassion, we actually do this. We can stay there. So I'd like to describe the origin of the MSc program to outline the course and in the process, describe the relationship of self-compassion to mindfulness and describe challenges to learning self-compassion and how we work with them in the MSc program. Mindful self-compassion has been translated into 8 languages and taught across the world. What we've noticed is that when a person actually gives themselves permission to do a little U-turn with their compassion, in other words, give it to themselves, they report it has quite an immediate effect, and then they want more. So that's one reason. Another reason is the research. You know there are over 1,700 articles supporting the physical and emotional benefits of self-compassion, with the first research article printed in 2003. Mark Leary at Duke University says that the research is actually boring. It's really boring because just about every measure of mental health that we have that self-compassion has been compared to proves it's good for everything. It's a core factor in emotional well-being. Also, we think self-compassion really comes at the heels of mindfulness. Mindfulness appears to be an antidote to the quick pace of society and the information overload. That means it's impossible when you're scrolling and thinking in the future or regretting the past to actually appreciate where you are. And self-compassion is the antidote to loneliness and fragmentation. The culture shames us when we pay attention to ourselves, even when we're suffering. We see this perpetuated in self-pity, self-indulgence, and so forth. Self-compassion is actually none of those things. What Christopher Germer, who is a therapist in the area and got his degrees and teaches at Harvard, and Kristen Neff, who's a scientist, they were trying to correct the imbalance. And really, you should think about self-compassion as an inner compassion program. It's a humble enterprise, including ourselves in that circle of compassion. One thing an example that seems to hit home is when a friend will will tell you something sad, something challenging that happened that day, and you're probably quick to respond with something comforting. like if they didn't get a promotion, well, right away you're thinking there are plenty of other, maybe I'll help you find another opportunity, or what else might you be interested that might give you more encouragement to try something new. But we don't do that for ourselves. So really thinking about what would you tell a good friend to source yourself is a better way to build those strengths. MSC training is experience-based and actually feelings-based. First, we must be mindful, that means aware of our emotions, and label the feelings we experience before we're able to offer kindness. And that kindness could be a touch, could be words of encouragement, it could be a song that just kind of comforts us, it could be a poem, and all of these roots that work best for us individually do help build resilience over time. One of my favorite quotes that I have on my refrigerator is peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of these things and still be calm in your heart. I'm just going to give you a moment of, it's called the moment of mindful self-compassion. So when you're in those moments that you're challenged, you can acknowledge this is a moment of suffering. Because when you think of the common humanity, you realize that you're not alone, that everyone at some point has had this experience in their own way. And that's mindfulness. You're aware that it's happening. You could say, this hurts, ouch, I'm stressed. And then suffering is a part of life. And that's the common humanity. And that's the way that you realize that you can source yourself. You can say, I'm not alone. Other people feel this way. We all struggle in our lives. And what's something that I could do for me in that moment? Maybe it's hugging a mug of coffee or tea. Maybe it's putting a hand on your chest, a soothing touch, a song or poem. And then say to yourself, may I be kind to yourself. Ask yourself, what do I need to hear right now to express kindness to myself? Is there a phrase that speaks to myself? May I give myself compassion that I need? May I learn to accept myself as I am? May I forgive myself? May I be strong? Or may I be patient? So you could Google that. It is called the brief mindful self-compassion practice, and it can be done at any time that you are feeling challenged. And I am just so grateful to have had this opportunity. And I will graduate and start teaching, hopefully, any of the interested people here this summer. So, thank you.
Hey everybody, I am Karen Griffiths. I'm the school partnership team liaison to LHS and also to the central office. And Andrew Stevens, the LHS principal, got called away. He couldn't make it, so he asked me to just quickly go over what they did for their school community grant this year. It had 3 parts. The first one is they engaged a consultant with the May Institute to work at the high school with the teachers and the students on a climate survey to help identify focus areas, places where they want in future years to dig in a bit more, and to develop and run focus groups with the students on questions tied to like connection and community and recognition and safety. So, you know, LHS, as we all know, is humongous, and so they're constantly working on trying to get that sense of community there. The second thing they did was they got executive coaching from the Suffolk Center for Restorative Justice, working with their equity team on building capacity for classroom tier 1 practices, again with the community building. And the third thing they did was, they will be bringing in a presenter on positive psychology, who the counseling department highly recommended, and they're gonna bring her in on the May Professional Development Day to work with the full staff. Thank you.
Are you setting that up, Rory?
Yes.
Okay, great. I saw Jackie just left.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. My name is Rory O'Connor, the assistant principal at Harrington. Jackie apologized. She had to step out. We have a concert this evening, so trying to be mindful of time. So appreciate the opportunity, first and foremost, to the LEF. Thank you for this evening. We've been looking forward to coming here and sharing some of the updates that we have at Harrington School. And so first and foremost, phase one of our technology grant last year, just a quick update, we were able to procure some equipment that allows us to use a teleprompter, an HD camera, and streaming software that allows us to essentially take any live event and bring it to anybody who has the link to it. So by way of example, this evening we have Miss Carpenter has a 3rd and 4th grade concert this evening, so we're able to stream that to extended family across the world. And so we're able to share some of those snippets with you in a few short moments. So school community grant drivers, this is a lot of what we focused on last year. I'm going to focus on these 2 points right here. We saw an opportunity early on last year to really develop a communication blueprint for our school and really establish that schematic, and we've been able to build that to a scalable level. So it's really enhanced our technological capacity, not only for our students, but for our staff too, and we have some big plans to really take that to the next level in the next several years. So I won't go through all of these. I'm not gonna read off the deck. So through this year, through the LEF, we've been able to secure some additional equipment, and I'm going to encapsulate all of these bullet points with one word, and that's wireless. And so this allows us to use some of our existing equipment in a wireless capacity. So we have a vision for increasing student agency by way of example, using student interviews and things like that in a way that allows us to be more mobile and go throughout the school and even outside of the school. Right now we are somewhat hamstrung in the sense that we are in our technology hub. That's where all of our hardwired equipment is. And this is going to allow us to be a lot more mobile in that capacity. So we're very excited. And so what is all of this? What does it look like? These things, I'm just going to walk you through. This is a wireless receiver right here that will be mounted on top of the camera. And basically what that does is it allows a wireless microphone audio signal to go, and LexMedia is nodding yes right now, allows the wireless signal from the microphone to go into the camera and record, like I said, in a mobile fashion. This is something that we're excited to show the students. There is a company that makes customized microphone. They're called flags. So basically, if you just take your school's logo, you can create any sort of microphone flag. So we're excited to introduce that to them later on this spring once we've been able to procure the equipment. And these are some of the other things too. Again, that's a handheld wireless microphone with a mic cover. Again, school colors. We're really trying to get the kids excited in this capacity. These are 2 other Rode wireless lavalier microphone systems that we have. So if you're not interested in using the handheld, sort of traditional stick, this allows you to clip something to your essentially any piece of clothing in a mobile capacity. So we're excited to introduce that to the students. And so a few other actionable items that we've done so far and we continue to do. With the equipment that we were able to purchase last year, we are able to do morning announcements every single day through video. We found an opportunity to do this year, and I know Julie, who's a Harrington staff member, knows what we're talking about. So it's been a way to really bring the community together. The students love it. It's an extended learning opportunity for them. And one byproduct of it that we hadn't really anticipated was reading off the teleprompter has been really targeting their oral reading skills, which we didn't really, you can adjust the speed, how fast it goes and things like that. So we're pretty happy about that. And it has given us the opportunity to recharge our existing YouTube channel, Harrington Share, which was in existence prior to my arrival. So we've been able to really capitalize on that as well. So this is just a screenshot of our YouTube page right now and kind of what we're doing. And so this is just a snapshot of really what some of our daily morning announcements look like. So it's a few short minutes every morning, brings the community together. And we've we've really seen our students gravitate toward this. And one of the things that we've done is basically take screenshots of these and post them in the school. And the students will let you know if you miss a week and they're not up on that wall, they'll let you know. So they kind of see themselves as minor celebrities, and it's been great to share these with parents too in the community as well, because we've gotten a lot of positive feedback in that regard. So we're really happy about that, and we want to continue building upon that. Again, some of our morning announcements. What we do also is we take a QR code, so anybody who's in the school that is curious to see that particular announcement can scan it with their phone, and it will take you right to the YouTube page. This is, I'm going to skip, this is kind of the whole picture of some of the chat that we had from our last live stream concert. And these are just some of the places that we had extended family come in from. So we had one from London, California, Florida, Oregon. So it's been really nice, and I think that is one of the byproducts, unfortunately, of the pandemic. We've had to find other ways to communicate with loved ones, and so this was an opportunity that we are trying to capitalize on and continue to do that. And hopefully tonight is another example of that. We're also excited too with the equipment through the LEF. We were able to purchase a Rode microphone that's affixed to our camera. It also has the capability of being used independently. So with that, we've launched our first podcast as a school. So it's been super exciting using that equipment afforded to us by the LEF. So it wouldn't have been possible without that. So we, again, want to use it as a community builder for the students and also bring staff into the mix too. We've talked a little bit about highlighting our pet therapy program, which I know a lot of other schools are doing as well. March Madness of books, things like that. And so it's been nice to see some of the staff members excited with that as well. And we have a slide deck celebrity in-house right here, Emily Sayer, who we had conversations earlier this year about trying to really promote the LEF grant opportunity process. And so we had a conversation, and why don't we use the equipment? Why don't we use the teleprompter? So Emily wrote a script, we put it in the teleprompter, taped it, and we're done in about 20 minutes. And so just like that.
Does that have a QR code?
It has I can show you a quick little, I don't know if there's audio with this, but no, I don't think so. Let me try here. Let's see. Oh, it's not gonna work, that's okay. Well, you heard the music. Anyway, if you want the link, I can send it to you and you can check it out. So that has been a nice addition as well. And so we want to continue to capitalize upon this. Let's see here. And so the next steps, we're going to continue building this footprint, identify some other opportunities for next year. And we're really excited and energized, enthused to see some of the responses from students and staff alike. And so the idea is just to build this bigger and bigger. And what's been nice too is seeing some of the other schools in the district also showing some interest in what we're doing, and we're happy to share, and anything we can do to make everybody better, we will. So with that said, thank you, LEF.
Did we miss anyone? No? Is Karen still here?
She's here.
Karen!
Sorry, I was late. I guess MBT is not as good as our district. They run late every time. Just really quick, thank you all for handling. A lot of people had to skip out early, which is fine. Thank you again. I just want to thank you, district, for your support. We can ask for a few words. Would you like to share anything today?
Sure.
All right.
I think I want to say this is a moment of suffering. And to start, I mean, it's a really hard time in public education. It's a hard time in our district. We're all going through a lot of struggles in our own personal journeys. I really appreciated what you had to say. And when it is a moment of struggling, it's so great to have a moment of joy and to hear what it is so important about the work that we do, and to connect with what is the spark for us and the passion. And I heard so much of that in your stories, and the work that you're doing is absolutely incredible. We do it as a community, and that's when we do it best, and you just can feel it in the room. So I just thank all the leaders who have done such a terrific job, all the educators who did a good job with public speaking too, all the parents in the room, and especially to the LEF, because you are just so generous, and we are so, so grateful for the support. This is the stuff that keeps us going. So thank you very much.
I just want to thank you, and also thanks to our co-presidents, the two presidents here, and our whole board member, and of course our lovely ESP team. Without your energy and your commitment, we wouldn't be here. And of course, all of your ideas. Without any of these, and LEF will be here. And also just a few logistics. There are some stickers on the way. So if you need anything for your books, any physical item, please feel free to grab them. If you need more, just send us a quick message. We'll send you them out. We'd like our name to be out there. Yes. Right? And please tag us on any social medias. Anything you have it, we'd love to see it. And also there's a final report. I know a lot of you guys haven't completely finished it, but once you finished it, click on that link on that agreement page. Share with us. We like all the bigger communities to know about it, so we can advertise everything. And anyway, thank you all. Don't forget about the cookie and all the things. Just take them away. Any questions, reach out to your liaisons. It's all on the website. Anything, just feel free. We're here to support everything. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.